Ingredient and cost comparison here for applesauce. We have our store-bought jar. This is a 3-pound 48-ounce jar for $3.52. There's a smaller 23-ounce jar for $2.93. There's a wide variety of options, but looking at the prices and sizes, it's definitely bulk is cheaper. If you need an organic option, there are a couple of options in the $4.55 range for a medium size jar, like 20, I think it was actually, it might have been 32 ounces. So there's that. Here we have some Golden Delicious apples, lemon juice, maple, cinnamon, and then I have apple pie spice mix that I have a little bit left over from the fall mix that I did for fall baking. So the apples are $2.57 a pound. So this is probably about $6 worth of apples. The lemon juice gets down to a couple cents because the larger jars, I buy these in the 2-packs from the warehouse store. Maple syrup, also cheaper to be buying in the larger jugs from the warehouse store. Cinnamon, a couple cents. Altogether, this is probably going to be almost twice as much as the jarred applesauce. So that is definitely a win for the jarred version, just that's a pretty significant difference in price. These are also the prices for the apples in the summer. So these apples will definitely be cheaper in the late August, September, October months. So that's also something to keep in mind if you want to make this a little cheaper on the homemade side, to be taking advantage of the sales that you're seeing during the fall months. Let's get to peeling these apples and get them in the slow cooker. I'll show you how to do that next. Here we are. I am going to peel these Golden Delicious apples as close as I can to not lose any of the flesh. You're just shaving around the edges as close as you possibly can. Do not come at me. If you were to use a peeler, you'll lose more. I can control my knife better than a peeler, and I can get this closer to the edge of the skin. And if you leave little tiny bits on of the skin, that's okay, but I wouldn't leave large chunks because that'll just be harder to chew even after it slow cooks. So we're just gonna get as much off of here as we can. And then I'm gonna cut it as close to the core as I can. Again, the goal is to get as much apple as we can into the slow cooker. Okay, and then I'm gonna cut down and see where I am. So I got pretty close to the core there. And then I can cut some more off after I pull these to big chunks. We don't need to cut them any smaller than this. So I'm just gonna drop them right in the slow cooker. That we will mash them at some point during the slow cook cycle. So here I am, I'm just gonna kind of go down. You kind of cut at an angle around the core and you'll get all these little pieces that you can toss in there as well. Obviously we do not want that in there, but you want to get as close as you can. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna finish these and I will be right back with some other tips and hacks as we're getting this started in the slow cooker. Last apple, everything else sliced in the slow cooker. A quick note about the variety of apple that you should use. I recommend the Golden Delicious. This is the one I have here. Because it's on the sweeter side, if you've ever looked, or you can look online, there's like charts of apple sweetness and tartness. And the Golden Delicious falls just in the right spot where it's sweeter than it is tart. Like a Granny Smith is way too tart. Do not recommend a Granny Smith applesauce unless you're planning on adding a lot of sugar. But the Golden Delicious is perfect. It complements the maple syrup that we're gonna add. If you want to do a completely unsweetened applesauce, so no maple, no sugar, no other sweetener, the Golden Delicious, I think, is the best variety. The second best would be Honeycrisp, but that one's a lot more expensive compared to the Golden Delicious. So those would be my two recommendations. If you want the Honeycrisp, go with that one if you're less concerned about cost, but Golden Delicious is my go-to. Another thing you could do between the peeling and cutting and the slicing is to put them into a lemon water bath. You do a large bowl of just room temperature water, add some lemon juice into it, swirl it around. That'll help with the oxidizing and the browning. I'm not doing that today. I'm just gonna go ahead and pour the lemon juice over the top. So I'm doing a half recipe here from the one that's posted. So I'm gonna do about 1/6 of a cup of lemon juice. We don't want too much lemon juice. We don't want the lemon to overpower the apples, but we also need the lemon juice to be the acidity that's going to keep the apples from browning. So it's kind of like you have to strike the right balance there. So that's why I'm adding that. And then I'm gonna do the same with the maple, half of this 1/3 measuring cup. And then I'm just gonna do a teaspoon of this apple spice mix because I want to use it and I want all of those warm flavors, the nutmeg, the cloves, all of that. So I'm gonna do, I'll show you this and then we'll mix it up. Okay, so there we have, you can see the lemon juice on the bottom there. I want to just kind of make sure each apple gets a little touch. Of course, this will mash and mix together later, but as it still cooks, these will brown a little bit, but I don't want them to be like dark brown. So I'm gonna give them a good toss. Then we're going to start this on low, leave it on low for about 2 hours. I'm going to set a timer on my phone, and then I'll mash and let it cook another hour, and then it'll be ready. So I'll be back in a bit with mashing these apples for slow cooker applesauce. This has been slow cooking, and it is now mashing beautifully. So I'm going to just mash this up, and then I'll do a side-by-side here in a minute. Okay, this is mashed how I want it to be, and I'm going to use my spatula to just scrape it all out of here, and I'm going to put it into this dish right here that I can keep it in the fridge, store it, but I'm definitely going to be having this as a little snack here real quick. Okay, quick note. I just left this as like mashed chunky applesauce because we don't mind it that way. If you wanted a full like smooth applesauce like you would get out of a jar, you're going to need to add it to a blender, blend it up, puree it, and it just takes a little bit longer, adds an extra step. It's hard to get the applesauce out of the blender, so that's just a thing to consider as well. Comparison wise, cost, the store-bought version wins, especially in a larger bulk situation or from the warehouse. I think convenience, this is also going to be the winner, although cooking it in the slow cooker and just mashing it once halfway through the cooking cycle is really pretty easy. Health-wise, ingredient-wise, homemade is certainly the best. Cost-wise, it could be less in the fall, like I mentioned, if with apple prices were lower than they were when I am buying this and making this here in the summertime. Taste-wise, homemade is gonna win. So I feel like this is a toss-up. If you have easy access to really affordable apples, homemade is the win. If not, the jar is going to be the winner. Also, do the jar into a bowl. Don't buy those little cups. Those are awfully expensive. I know they're convenient, but you can just transfer smaller amounts into small little reusable glass containers like this one. We have a bunch of little tiny ones. Use those in the long run. That is going to save you lots of money by doing bulk jars like this. Okay, there's a little quick tip for you. I think overall we're gonna go with store-bought as the winner for applesauce, although I love a homemade chunky slow cooker sauce, especially in the fall when apples are cheaper, but Golden Delicious and Honeycrisp, that's the way to go. All right, give me a thumbs up if you learned something new, and if you're gonna try this slow cooker homemade applesauce, I have the recipe in the description below. Also subscribe and sign up for notifications so you'll get alerted to when we release new episodes, which lately has been every Tuesday and Thursday. We're here to help you spend less money on groceries with budget cooking hacks and tutorials, as well as freezer meal prep sessions and series like this, Is It Worth It?, to help you decide if it's worth it to make it homemade or not by doing the full cost breakdown so you can save as much money as possible. All right, it's bye for now, and I'll see you in the next video.